personalities in the house. I want to recognize the group coordinators under the able leadership of pharmacist Folashade Olawal, a fellow of the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria. You're welcome, ma. Special recognition to all the fellows of the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria, all fellows of the West African Postgraduate College of Pharmacists. I celebrate you. Our professors, our lecturers here present, you're all welcome. I want to specially recognize all heads of pharmacy departments, all group members, and especially the drug evaluation monograph team here present. You are all welcome. I also want to specially recognize other very important personalities and distinguished participants. We are honored to have you join us tonight. Our speaker for today is our very own pharmacist, Asishana Kemi, of the Obstetrics and Gynecology Units, Pharmacy Department, University of Ilorin Teaching Hospital. She will be doing justice to the drug evaluation monograph the next 20 minutes. This topic is aimed at providing a structured method to review the major features of a drug product and guide pharmacists on how to select drug products for hospital formularies. Of course, bearing in mind that not all facilities have the Pharmacy and Therapeutics Committee. Hence the need for objective assessment based on scientific information and not just anecdotal prescriber experience or manufacturers' leaflets. This presentation will last 20 minutes. And shortly after this, we would have a product presentation anchored by Pfizer Specialties Limited for another 20 minutes. The presenter is pharmacist Olalude Paul Olakunle. And after this product presentation, we would have a questions and answer session for 15 minutes. So put down your questions. I'm sure the presenters will do justice to them. All right, so permit me all to call on pharmacist Asishana Kemi to commence her presentation. Pharmacist, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ma. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Still standing on the existing protocol, my name is pharmacist Asishana Kemi, and I'll be doing a short presentation on drug evaluation monograph. Sorry, 1 minute, I want to share my slide. Okay, drug evaluation monograph. So next is the content of my presentation. The first is introduction, the purpose and importance of drug evaluation monograph, the source of drug evaluation monograph, the things that are being evaluated, the preparation of a drug evaluation monograph, content of drug monograph, the body of drug evaluation monograph, sessions of a drug monograph, my conclusion and references. Drug evaluation is the process of classifying drugs as either therapeutic or non-therapeutic and are approved by governing bodies, governing agencies. The governing agency here in for Nigeria is the NAFDAC. Then the things that are being evaluated are the identity of a drug, the purity, the quality of a drug. I'll be presenting more on that in subsequent slide. The drug monograph is a collection of key fields of information specific to a particular medication. A drug monograph is a book, pamphlet, or document that is complete in itself, is a detailed written study of a single specialized subject or an aspect of it. Researchers publish their findings in monographs for review and validation. Monographs provide scientific information on the safety, efficacy, and quality assurance of widely used drugs. A drug formulary, as we all know, is a list of prescription drugs, generics used to identify drugs that offer the greatest overall value. And in the establishment and maintenance of a drug formulary, it requires that drugs or drug classes be objectively assessed based on scientific information, such as the efficacy, the safety, the uniqueness, and also the costs, and many other factors. These are very, very important in listing a drug in a drug formulary. And in listing a drug for drug formulary is carried out by local experts, or even and even for the evaluation is carried out by our experts, local experts, and are chosen for their safety and efficacy. Items to be listed in the formulary must be unique, must serve the specific population, and must be the most cost-effective in selection of a drug for drug formulary. And this calls for evaluation. The other issues evaluated are the dosage forms, the packaging, evidence-based treatment guidelines, regulatory issues, the prescriber preferences, and many more data relating to a drug product. A drug evaluation monograph presents or provides the structured method to review the major features of a drug product. In listing a drug, in picking a drug for a drug formulary, we need to do the drug evaluation. And in the process of doing the drug evaluation, there's an already structured pattern that we have to use, and that calls for the drug evaluation monograph. A way to decide which drug is best for formulary addition is to rationally evaluate all aspects of the drug in relation to similar agents. It is owned by Pharmacy and Therapeutics Committee as a means of executing its functions per policy and procedure. Drug evaluation monograph must reflect the local condition or current practices. It must reflect the local conditions of the institution or the organization where they are being prepared and the current practices of the place. What are the purpose and importance of drug evaluation monograph? Monograph is a tool for effective review of information in a manner that assists the pharmacy and therapeutics community in evaluating the evidence for a recommendation. They give a review of a drug product from a whole and microeconomic view. This microeconomic view is talking about the efficacy, the safety, and not just prescriber experience. It is a powerful tool for the pharmacy to guide the rational development of a drug formulary. It allows for easy comparison and contrast of other products that may be used for the same indication or that are in same products. They can be used as a structured template for a drug product. The sources of drug evaluation monograph. There are different sources of drug evaluation monograph. They can be commercially prepared. That means the information about a drug are sourced from different sources, or they can be used, and when they are sourced from different sources, they are used as it is, or they can be modified for to suit institutions where they will be used. But for these monographs that are commercially prepared, the quality varies. And so there is need for extensive updating. Just as the formulary is being renewed yearly, this also needs to be updated yearly. Or they can be locally made to suit the institution by an expert in the organization. These are prepared freshly on demand. What are the things that are being evaluated? The dosage forms, the packaging, the requirements of accrediting or quality assurance bodies, evidence-based treatment guidelines, the prescriber preferences, regulatory issues, patient and or nursing convenience. If you are listing a drug in a formulary, the patient also comes into play. It must be convenient for the patient and also convenient for the nurses to administer. Advertising, then customer expectation, comparative efficacies, pharmacogenomics, how does it affect the genes in the body? Then the expected outcome, does it improve the quality of life of the individual that are going to be using the drug? Now, I'm moving to the preparation of drug evaluation monograph. Monograph requires a great amount of time, effort, using various skills to evaluate and collate. And these are the skills that have been taught in previous modules, like the skills in writing, information retrieval, drug literature review, which was done in a module 4, professional writing, which is also in module 12. Pharmacists play a unique role in the preparation of monograph in that they view the drug products from a whole and microeconomic view. The contents of drug monograph. A monograph must meet or exceed the recommendations of the American Society of Health System Pharmacists. This is for Americans. But for Nigeria, it must also meet the recommendations of the Pharmacists Council and should serve as a good example for most circumstances. There are also recommended standards for manufacturers. It is designed to restrict the marketing impact of the company in providing information. But where it's applicable, while it has applicability as to how an institution may evaluate a drug, a precise monograph should be tailored to the institution, should be tailored to the organization, patient population, clinic, and so forth. Also, in some cases, the information has been divided into multiple sections. I'll be showing a sample of a monograph in subsequent slides, or subsections to increase the clarity. This format can also be used to evaluate all classes of drug. In most cases, a specific drug is compared with others in the same class. It also has the comparative charts and tables, which helps in, citing a particular drug. And then this format can be used to evaluate a therapeutic interchange or a potential removal from formulary. The main body of the drug monograph. The first page is essentially the summary of the product. Summary of the most important information concerning the drug and specific recommendations of the action to be taken on the product. This is mostly reviewed by the Pharmacy and Therapeutics Committee because it gives the concise information they need about a particular drug. The format of the summary usually begins with the general institutional information, that's the name of the hospital or the organization. Then is following the name header, the specific introductory information about the product is also included. This includes the generic name, the trade name, and also the manufacturer. The next is the drug classification. This summary page includes the drug's prescription or controlled substance status. That has to do with the drug classification. So it may also contain other classification schemes used by particular organizations. Next is the comparative analysis, comparison with other therapies or with other drugs, then the outcome studies data. Next is the formulary recommendation. Before a drug is recommended, it must be based on therapeutics, the adverse effects, the cost. This has to do with the full pharmacoeconomic analysis, the hospital antibiotic resistance pattern, evidence-based treatment guidelines, dosage forms. Recommendations should be specific to the circumstance in the institution. Then also the hospital system third-party payer plan, the NHIS. Just like we have the NHIS formulary, when they want to list a particular drug, they are checking the pharmacoeconomics also, because it's very important. Who is going to make the other payments? Is this drug cost effective or not? Or other organizations. Next is the main body of the monograph, which may not always be reviewed by the pharmacy and therapeutic committee, but if need be, it is done briefly. Every item should be addressed in a drug monograph. Then the sources of the information that you are using should be mentioned and also referenced. Then the sections of a drug monograph. The drug monograph contains the pharmacological data. Those are the things that are being reviewed, the therapeutic indications, the pharmacokinetics, the dosage, the administration, and supply. Also, any known adverse effects, they are also evaluated with the toxicity. Then the cost comparison. In selecting a drug for a drug monograph, the cost comparison is also shown. You compare it with different drug products, also with similar indication. A good pharmacoeconomics analysis should be prepared. Cost is heavily emphasized in formulary decisions. So this is an example of a drug monograph. Just like I've said, this example is based on a fictional product. Just like I said earlier, that it starts with the institutional name. I'm just citing an example of just any hospital, not a specific one. That's St. Anywhere Medical Center. Then the Pharmacy and Therapeutics Committee, the Drug Evaluation Monograph. You can see here that the generic name is written immediately after the institutional name, the manufacturer, then the brand, then the therapeutic category, with also the classification of the drug. Then also the classification, the FDA classification. If you have any other classification, this is included here also. The status of the drug, maybe it's prescription only or it's a controlled drug. Then the similar agent you are comparing with is also mentioned. This is PCAD. So next is the summary. Just like I said earlier, that the summary of the drug or the product you are evaluating. So here we have antibody. It's a new fluorocarbon that has many similarities to the only other product it is in its class, that's PCAD. Both products have the ability to temporarily reduce the oxygen carrying functions of the red blood cell in patients in whom use of whole blood of flocard red blood cell is impossible due to medical or religious reasons. So in general, antibody was found to be more efficacious than PCAD. However, it has been shown to produce a greater number of adverse effects. The adverse effects are mostly gastrointestinal in nature. However, the increased INR can be a problem in some patients. Antibody is not metabolized in the body, whereas PCAD is approximately 50% metabolized in inactive components. Just like I said earlier, this summary that I just read, I've not finished reading, but the one I've read is the most important aspects that have been quickly reviewed by the Pharmacy and Therapeutics Committee when they are selecting a drug to be in a drug formulary. The these differences are generally not clinically significant, since the dose of either product is unlikely to need adjustment. Fecard is available in several different volume bags, allowing the dose to be matched closely to the anticipated patient need. While the cost of Fecard appears to be lower, a pharmacoeconomics analysis shows that antibody would reduce the greatest cost, will produce the greatest cost saving for the institution. So now is the recommendation. It is recommended that antibody be added to the drug formulary for the use restricted to those who cannot use natural blood replacement products because of religious reasons or because suitable blood types are not available, including for use in cardiac catheterization procedures. It is not approved for use in a volume expander, except when in conjunction with the previous indication. Here we can see a blood product, a blood substitute being compared with another. And this gives an example of what drug evaluation monograph is all about. Gives the drug, the brand name, also the manufacturer, the therapeutic category, the classification, the summary, and also the recommendations. So this gives us a very good example of what drug evaluation monograph is all about, and the things to look out for: the pharmacoeconomics, the metabolism, also the pharmacodynamics, the pharmacokinetics. These are things that we look out for in selecting a drug for drug formulary. This is also another example of another drug formulary. This is a very extensive review. You can see the date of the review is also stated here. The hospital, the research institute that is doing the review. Also, when the end date of literature search, also the brand name, the generic name, they are all written here. Then the next is the purpose of class updates, the research questions that have been asked, the conclusion, the recommendations, then all the other background studies that have been done, then the classifications of the drug, also they are being stated here. Here you can see the clinical safety of the drug, the comparative clinical efficacy also is stated here. Then the comparative evidence. This is what I was saying when I was saying that tables are very good in comparing. Here they did a study design, the drug regimen and duration, patient population, efficacy endpoints, and many other things that are being listed here. Then the comparative clinical trials that are being done on the product too, they are also being stated. Then the highlights of prescribing information, the indications and usage, dosage and administration, dosage forms and strengths, all these are included in any drug monograph. In conclusion, drug monograph is a powerful tool for the pharmacy to guide in the rational development of a drug formulary. In the adoption of a drug in the drug formulary, we need to do a full drug evaluation. Not that we just pick the based on prescribers' preference, or maybe the marketing the representatives from different companies. We need to do an extensive review of the drug. It's a collection of fields of information specific to a particular medication that helps in the review of any drug. Preparation of a drug monograph, it can be time consuming, but it is extremely important as it guides in the adoption of a drug, adoption of a formulary agent. It helps in decision-making process by the pharmacy and therapeutics. These are my references. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for that beautiful presentation, Pharmacist Asishan Akemi.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yes.
All right, so now we'll be moving on to the next presentation. It's actually a product presentation anchored by Pfizer Specialties Limited for another 20 minutes. The presenter is Pharmacist Olalude Paul Olakunle. Pharmacist Paul, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hello, can you all hear me? Just to confirm.
We can hear you.
Okay, yes. Good evening, sirs and ma'ams. I'm very grateful for this opportunity to engage you. My name is Olalude Paul Olakunle. I'm a medical representative with Pfizer. I'm the one in charge of XALATAN and XALACOM ophthalmics in the management of glaucoma in our patients. So briefly, I will just, not to take too much of our time, I will just delve into the efficacy, safety, and tolerability profile of XALATAN in the management of open-angle glaucoma. Today, I will just be talking about XALATAN, but my products are mainly XALATAN and XALACOM. They are both similar in when it comes to their product profile. I would like to delve into glaucoma itself. Glaucoma, it is defined as a progressive degeneration of the optical nerve fibers of the eyes. The optical nerve fibers are responsible to transmit information to the brain to process. They are just behind the retina. So once there is a progressive degeneration of these optical nerve fibers, then glaucoma sets in. The patient start losing its his or her peripheral vision, and then most likely the patient's sight becomes irreversible blindness. So that is one of the consequences of untreated glaucoma. So there is blindness, there is impacted mobility, and there is irreversible blindness, meaning that once this blindness sets in, it is definitely done for the patient. The patient cannot see again for the rest of his life. And while managing glaucoma, one of the preventable factor is the intraocular pressure. That is the only modifiable factor in all of the factors that are affecting glaucoma. Apart from the IOP, we have several factors such as age, comorbidities such as diabetes and hypertension, and we also have large curve to disc ratio. And lastly, we also have ethnicity, because it is a disease of the blacks. It is mostly prominent in blacks and in Africans. And it is the second leading cause of preventable blindness in the world, which is second only to cataract. And when it comes to the management, we have several classes of drugs that are used in the management of open-angle glaucoma. We have the prostaglandin analogs, which are the XALATAN and the Travatan, which is the Travoprost brand. And also we have the Matoprost. Those are the classes of the prostaglandin analogs. We also have the beta adrenergic blocker. Sorry, can you just explain? Which are the Timolol and the betaxolol. Those are the other classes of drugs used in the management of glaucoma. We also have the carbonic anhydrase inhibitor, which are the dozalamide and the acetazolamide. And lastly, we have the sympathomimetics, which you have the pilocarpine. So all these classes of drugs, it is only XALATAN and the other PG analogs, the prostaglandin analogs, that are used mainly when it comes to the management of open-angle glaucoma as a first line. They are the first line in these cases by all the guidelines. I don't know if you can still see my screen.
No, but you share it. It has stopped.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was wondering too, because Okay. Yeah, can I see the screen be seen now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I will talk about XALATAN. Well, XALATAN is a prostaglandin analog, like I earlier said, and it is an ophthalmic solution. It contains 50 microgram of latanoprost, and then a drop of the XALATAN contains 1.5 microgram, which is needed for effective IOP lowering. And the XALATAN is used in the management of open angle glaucoma, closed angle glaucoma, and also ocular hypertension. Ocular hypertension means that there is increased intraocular pressure, but there is no degeneration of the optic nerve fibers that can cause glaucoma. So that is ocular hypertension, and XALATAN is still used in such cases. And the mode of action is just simple. This is the picture of the eyes of a section of the eyes. So what it does is that it will drain the aqueous humor out of the eyes by like increasing the uvoscleral outflow. That's yes, and okay. There are two routes when it comes to the eyes that helps in the training of the eyes. That the trabecular meshwork and also the uvoscleral routes. So what the XALATAN does is that it will relax the ciliary muscles, and then by so doing, there is increased uvoscleral roots. There's an increase in the shape of the uvoscleral roots such that there's an outflow of the fluids which will drain easily in the eyes. It is important to note that the XALATAN as a molecule does not have effect on the production of aqueous humor. It is only beta blockers like timolol that can inhibit the production of the aqueous humor. That is why we have some combinations like the XALACOM that contains the latanoprost and the timolol, such that they will act synergistically. In that, when there is an inhibited aqueous humor production, there is also increased drainage of the eyes. That is what we have in those fixed combinations like XALACOM. And then upon the administration of the XALATAN, effect starts within 3 to 4 hours, and the maximum IOP lowering is reached between 8 to 12 hours, and then it will last for 24 hours. That is why it is used once a day, effectively at night, because the efficacy has been shown to give great efficacy at night compared to when it is used in the morning. And it is usually absorbed by the cornea, and then the prodrug is hydrolyzed into the active form, and then the peak topical administration will be reached within 2 hours of use. And the active acid is the active form of the latanoprost, and it is metabolized in the liver via the beta oxidation to produce 2 metabolites, which is usually hydrolyzed form of the latanoprost. And it is usually excreted through the kidney via the urine, and then the half-life is usually 17 minutes upon excretion, and 8% of it is excreted via the urine after topical administration. And when it comes to the efficacies, we usually predict the production, the progression of the glaucoma via 3 routes: through the day-to-day variation, and also through the range of the variations, and also the diurnal variations of the IOPs. Those are the ways we can determine the progression of the glaucoma itself. And if you want to compare the efficacy with other PG analogs like the brimatoprost and the travoprost, there is a comparative IOP control when it comes to these other molecules, in that there is a baseline which is represented in the black line, and after administration of either any of this, there is a 33% IOP control, such that when a patient that comes with an IOP of 24 mm of mercury, when it comes to the clinic and then when they are given XALATAN, the patient will most likely come down to an IOP of around 16 to 17 mm of mercury within 24 hours of use, which is also comparable to the brimatoprost and the travoprost combinations. And if you want to compare its efficacy in a 24 hours study together with the other classes of drug, such as the atimolol and the dozalamide, the timolol is represented in the blue line, and the dozalamide is represented in the green line, while the latanoprost, which is the XALATAN, is represented in a faint green, which is a light green. You can see that from the baseline, there is a better IOP control when they use XALATAN compared to when they use the other classes of glaucoma medication, such as the dozolamide and the timolol. So that is why most times they give the XALATAN and other PG analogs as a first line because of better efficacy compared to the other classes of drugs. And if you want to compare it like tolerability profile, one of the goal of treatment is that the patient should get effective IOP control and also should be able to stay on it for a very long time, which is why it is much more tolerable than other PG analogs. If you want to compare its like tolerability with the travoprost and the bimatoprost, the XALATAN has shown to give the lowest incidence of aperemia. Aperemia simply means increased redness, which can actually make some patients to just stay off from their medications, and then which can also affect adherence. So when it comes to like aperemic side effects, it is milder. We're not saying it is not with the XALATAN, but like it is milder with the XALATAN compared to the bimatoprost and the travoprost, which are the other PG analogs. So that is why it is mostly given as a first choice, because of the tolerability profile is more, it is milder compared to the other classes of PG analogs. And then these are the other side effects, which like also imparts ocular tolerability, comparing the side effects of the latanoprost, the bimatoprost, and the travoprost. If you look at this other side effects, you can see that they all vary, but using hyperemia as a case study, 47% of the patients will come down with hyperemia compared to 68.6% of patients on that will be on bimatoprost, while 58% of patients on travoprost will mostly come down with hyperemia after some time, and which can make some patients stay off their medication, like I said before. And also, if you talk about eye irritation, it is milder too with the use of the XALATAN compared to when they use the bimatoprost, which has more patients that will stay off the medication because it is highly irritable. Well, compared to like travoprost, the travoprost has a lower eye irritation profile. And then if we now want to look at the other side effects, the XALATAN too gives a milder profile than the other PG analogs. And if you want to check about the adherence of treatments, more patients will like adhere to the use of XALATAN. This is a study that was done, which shows that like 75% of patients will stay on XALATAN when they use it for a long period of time, and then they won't most likely discontinue it compared to when they use the travoprost and the bimatoprost combinations. And also, if you want to like compare the adherence of treatment of XALATAN to the other classes of drugs, such as the dozolamide and the beta blockers, like the timolol and also brimonidine too, you can see that more patients will adhere to treatment from this study when they use XALATAN for a longer period of time. So adherence is a very key like a factor when it comes to the management of glaucoma, because the longer they stay on the medication, the better they get a better management over a long period of time when they are treating their like glaucoma. And the dosing of the XALATAN is just once a day compared to when they use the beta blockers like the timolol that can be used twice a day. It's just once a day dosing, and the optimal effect is obtained in the evening. And please, when they are being given, they should not exceed once a day dosing. And then like also, when some patients are being given several drugs, they should be like administering the XALATAN 5 minutes together, like a 5 minutes difference from the other drugs they are using. And also when they're using their contact lenses, it is advisable for them to remove it and then they can replace it after 15 minutes. Well, the side effects are like minimal. Like I said before, they are mostly aperemic side effects, which is not seen in all the patients. And then like there is iris pigmentation, and there is blepharitis, and also there's a epithelial erosion, which is not really, which is transient because it can be eased off over the time. And there is also eye pain. those are the general side effects that is seen with the XALATAN. And it is contracted with the patients that are sensitive to latanoprost or the other excipients, such as the BAK, the benzalkonium chloride, which is the major preservative that is used in XALATAN. And when it comes to safety consideration, it should be used in caution with aphakic patients and pseudo-aphakic patients with a torn posterior lens capsule, and patients with known risk factor of macular edema, and then it is not supposed to be used in patients with inflammatory neovascular glaucoma, because there has been no study that has been done in such cases. And then it is not supposed to be used, or it should be used with caution with some patients with a history of hepatic keratitis in such patients, and then also in a pediatric patients, it should not be used in the patients that are the patients that are 1 year or lesser than 1 year. It is supposed to be used in a patient above 1 year and above, or 2 years and above in such patients. And the storage should be, it is a cold chain drug. It is supposed to be stored in the refrigeration between 2 to 8 degrees Celsius. And once it has been opened, it can be stored at room temperature for up to 6 weeks, and it can be protected from lights. So when it comes to XALATAN, it offers efficacy, safety, tolerability, and quality in the management of open angle glaucoma. So this will be the end of my presentation. I don't know if you have any question or feedback. I'll be here to entertain.
Oh, thank you, pharmacist and Paul, for that presentation. So we will entertain questions and answers now for the next 15 minutes. We have hands raised. I don't know, you have questions, pharmacist Fatima and pharmacist Abbas. If we have questions, we can have them now. Thank you.
Master Paul, can you stop sharing your slides? Master Paul.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're done with the presentation. We want to have questions now. Questions from the audience. If you have a question, kindly indicate. Yes, pharmacist Ibrahim Abbas. You have a question. Your hands have been up for quite some while now. Hello, pharmacist Ibrahim Abbas. You have a question. Okay, pharmacist Fatima Bola Mustafa, you have a question as well? Do we have questions? Your hands have been up. Any questions for the presenters? The first
yes,
one.
I have one.
Oh, okay, sir.
Yes, thanks so much. I want to congratulate the two speakers for that good job. My question goes to pharmacist Paul, the vice rep. During your presentation, you emphasize more on the efficacy of a product, on the safety profile, but didn't say anything about the cost effectiveness. Because in trying to pick a drug, we need to look at those three things. Is this effective? Is it safe? And is it cost effective? But I look throughout your presentation, you are saying about the cost. So can you answer to that? Thank you so much.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for that question. I'm sorry I omitted that part. Well, in a cost, the XALATAN is cost effective, being that when it comes to the burden of untreated glaucoma, the cost of not treating properly, it is grievous than the cost of the XALATAN itself. Currently, the cost of XALATAN is 4,750 naira, while Xalacom is 5,005 naira. But there is a price discount offered to teaching hospitals and also the EDPs, just like what we have in like Ilorin and Kwara, that there is a 25% discount, which is volume based on XALATAN, because we have actually considered the fact that many people might not be able to afford to pay out of pocket. And then I can also tell you that it is also covered on like NHIs. So some patients that might not be able to purchase it can get it from NHI. So if they're given a 20% discount or like a 25% discount, sorry, the cost of XALATAN should be coming around 3,000 plus, which is like the cost of the generics. So I don't know if I answered your question properly, sir.
Thank you so much.
Okay, yes, we have a question from pharmacist Ayetoro Susan. Yes, and her question is to the first presenter. She said, you mentioned examples from foreign countries. What about Nigeria? Is there no hospital you can use? Pharmacist Asishana, the question is thrown to you. Hello, pharmacist Kemi Asishana, you have a
Yes,
question.
ma.
Yes,
Okay.
you have a question.
Question again, ma.
Yes. You mentioned examples from foreign countries. What about Nigeria? Is there no hospital you could use?
Okay.
That's the question. Yeah.
Okay. In UITH, actually, we also have a drug formulary, but please let me ask pharmacist Bello to give a very good reply to that, because he's also one of the people in the committee in preparing the drug formulary.
Okay, thank you, Pharmacist Kemi. In UITH, we have Pharmacy and Therapeutic Committee. And this committee is co-chaired by a pharmacist. And we have in place drug formulary, which is being operated every 2 years. But the problem with us, what I also do is that they don't have Pharmacy and Therapeutic Committee, and they only have drug formulary. And most of the time, they just come in without evaluation. And as pharmacists, we are supposed to be the gatekeeper, ensuring that the drugs that is coming to the hospital are being properly evaluated. And that's the major purpose of today's meeting, to give us the information and education that is needed for us to ensure that the product that is coming into the hospital are properly evaluated. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Because I did a case study, I have not really found any hospital that actually follows the guideline for the drug evaluation monograph. Most people don't really use that. They use it based on probably the prescriber's preference, or maybe the marketers, the company marketing the product, and this should not be based on that. And that's why we had today's lecture. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Pharmacist Kemi. Thank you, Pharmacist Bello too. Pharmacist Susan Ayetoro, she said there is a UITH experience and that the hospital has drug and therapeutic care committee, and we have a formulary. Of course, the second edition is out and has been produced by the same committee, and she is the co-chairman. We appreciate you, Ma, for the work you're doing in UITH. She said the formulary consists of drug monographs, indications, dosage forms, strengths, and some other informations. And that the clinical department submitted lists of drugs they use. Thank you very much, Ma. We know you're really doing a wonderful job at UITH. Thank you. We have another question from Dr. Faith.
Yeah.
Yes, from Dr. Faith. And it's for the first presenter. Okay, she said, as a follow-up to this question, are there specific classifications of drug products that are specified by a governing body like NAFDAC? Did you get that, pharmacist assistant?
Yes,
Hello?
ma.
Yes.
Yes, ma.
Okay.
Yes, ma. Yes.
Yes, as a follow-up to this question, that's the first question you just answered. Are there specific classifications of drug products that are specified by a governing body like NAFDAC?
Yes, there are specific classifications of drug products. Just like I mentioned earlier, they are like NAFDAC, but I'm not very sure about NAFDAC's classification. I'm more familiar with the FDA classification, that they have a specific drug classification for each of their drug products, and they are grouped into different classes, maybe group A, group B, and many more like that. Just as we have for the pregnant for pregnant drugs used in pregnancy, maybe category A, B, C, D, and on like that. Thank you very much. I don't know, maybe I've answered the question.
Dr. Faith, are you fine with the response? Hello, Dr. Faith, you can unmute. Dr. Faith.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Yes.
you.
Hello, good evening. Yes. Okay, why I was asking was because she kept mentioning I think the American Hospital Formulary Service. So I was thinking we use our own, or there are some drug monographs where our own classification specified by NAFDAC are used. So that was why I asked the question. Go kept referring to FDA and the AHFS, their own classifications. I just wanted to know, for those of them in the hospitals, if there are situations like this where we used our own classification for their drug monographs that are considered by their P&T committee.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank you very much. I think for now, Nigeria does not really have these structured templates that they use in reviewing drugs. Most of the time, we use the American-based templates for drug review. We don't really have a specific one. So that's why I kept mentioning the FDA, because these are the countries that have been developed, and they use all these in their in their classification and in listing their drugs into formulary. Before they can pick any drug, they have to sit down, the pharmacy being the head of this of the committee. They sit down and they review the drugs. They already have a template. Then if they don't have any template, any expert in the organization sits and reviews the monograph the way they want it to be. And so, they review it for themselves in the institution. Just like I mentioned, they are commercially made ones for drug monographs, and also the locally made ones. Like now, since we have the knowledge of this now, we can get back to our hospitals, and sit down with the templates of what we already have, of the monographs of each drug, the specific information we have for each drug, and also draft something out and start using for our institution. Is based on the institution. You can, in Nigeria here, we can sit down and draft our own, depending on the local condition and also on the patient need also. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, pharmacist assistant. Okay, we have pharmacist Amaka. Your hand is up. You have a question? Can you unmute, please? Pharmacist Amaka, we will take your question now or comment. Hello, pharmacist Amaka. Okay, can we have our fellow in the house, pharmacist Bioku? Sir, you have a question? Sir, unmute.
Yeah, thank you very much. Not to waste our time.
Yes,
It's a wonderful night, and I think I enjoyed a whole lot. But issues just came up to my mind that what are the constraints? Why institutions in Nigeria don't have their own formulary or they are not making efforts toward it? What are the constraints? But I noticed too that other people did, that the lady was referring to FDA and the rest. I was wondering initially why no reference to any local one. But as questions were answered, it became clearer that we have not really been thinking in that direction. Agreed, knowledge may be a big gap, but that constraint why institutions are not really using this formulary. Is there no cooperation from other health personnel, especially the doctors who actually do a lot of clinical evaluations and then results? What are the constraints? I would love to know. Thank you very much.
thank you, sir, for that question. Yes, sir. Pharmacist Atishanam, you can ask any member of your group.
Okay, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, from my little experience in the hospital, I think the major constraint is basically from the administration. It's basically from the hospital management, because most people are not enlightened to this particular topic. And most times we find that, companies come in and, before you know it, one or two, they have already, bribed their way in and the drug is already in the hospital before you can even say anything. So these are one of the constraints that we have, the hospital management. I think if the hospital management is cooperating well with the pharmacy, this is going to improve a lot better. Although in the UITH we have our formulary and the pharmacist is one of the heads of the committee, and this has helped us a lot in making a formulary in the hospital. So one of the constraints basically is the hospital management. Once we get a good support from the hospital management, I think we can have a breakthrough. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, pharmacist Kenny.
Yes.
Yeah, another thing I think is that we need to set standards. We need to set standards in our various hospitals. We don't have standards. We need to work on that. Yes. We have more questions, comments.
Yes, sir, from Masai to answer.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I want to contribute concerning what the last speaker said concerning the constraint. In teaching to learning, I've been in that community for many years, and I know so many things about popular here because I made it possible to have the one that we are using. And the constraint we have is due to inability of use. And why are they not using it? I even made attempts to put it in our website, the hospital website. If they can't open it, at least they can use the electronic one. And we found out that many of them are not using it. And they prefer coming to their consulting room, tell them about drugs that are to use instead of referring to the formulary. So which makes some of our drugs not even prescribed, because they rely much on this med reps, sales rep, so that this is one of the constraints that we are facing concerning the use of formulary processing. And as the presenter has rightly said, there is a solid policy by the management to make these things to happen. That is, the prescriber to make use of the formulary more than relying on the information they are getting from the sales rep of the brand. I think it will be better. So it's one thing is that to make a solid policy for the prescriber to make use of the formulary, and the other one is that to review it every 2 years, add more drugs to it, adding more information to it. Because when we made our first edition was so light, so vague, because we did not make it a really solid one. So, and by second edition, we added so much information on it, and I think it's like a book, which is very good that some hospitals are even trying to look at and see how they can make their own. So I think the contribution I can thank the presenters and the moderators.
Thank you very much, Ma. We appreciate that response. Thank you for the insights. Yes, we have our hands up. Pharmacist Olayiwola, can you unmute yourself and let's have your question, please, or comment?
Yeah, it's a brief comment while appreciating the we should trace the origin of hospital formularies.
Conclude your video so that we can hear you. You can cancel your video.
Pharmacist Olayiwola, we can't hear you.
Can you cancel your video so that you can save something? We can hear you.
I think Oga has a network challenge.
Okay.
Okay, so we don't have questions anymore, or do we still have comments?
I have a question. Oh, I don't know whether you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Amaka.
Okay.
My question is to the Pfizer rep. He said something, unless if I didn't hear him well, he said that the XALATAN is a cold chain drug that can be kept in the refrigerator between 2 to 8 degrees centigrade. Yes. But he then mentioned that once opened, that it can be used within 6 weeks, kept in a room temperature. So I'm not very clear. Does it mean that when you open it to use, you can keep it outside the fridge?
Yes, sir.
And the efficacy will not be lost.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What I mean is that the cold chain, the cold chain storage is just strictly before opening. Once it has been opened, it doesn't need them to be stored in the fridge again. It can be kept at room temperature, and the efficacy will be maintained for up to 6 weeks.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. I don't know if we still have questions. Questions? Comments? Okay, so we will round up now. It has been a wonderful time. We have enjoyed ourselves. The presentations are really brilliant. I'll hand over this. I want to call on pharmacist Fola Shade Lawal, I don't know if she's in the house, to give us the closing remarks.
Okay, I don't think she's on the call.
Okay.
But in her absence, we want to thank our speakers for the wonderful job this night. And for all the participants, we appreciate your attendance this night equally. We are grateful and we believe we are all empowered and enlightened tonight. So we're saying that next 2 weeks is going to be another day for update lecture on this platform. We thank you for coming and we say good night to everybody.
Thank you very much. So we can just have fun.
Okay.
Okay, wherever you are. Amen. Thank you for coming. We appreciate you. We thank you very much and we hope to see you next time. Thank you all and good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.